What is going on, everybody? Voidlego here, back with a brand new episode of Higurashi When They Cry. Last time we were on, we learned a lot more about Reina and her whole backstory. We learned that her parents had divorced, and it didn't go very well. And Reina, as a kid, when something like divorce is happening, chose to blame herself for somehow causing it and all that. And she decided to stay with her dad and never talk to her mother again, which she, in her head at least, wants to hate her, quote unquote, but she still cares for her. She can't, you know, stuff like that. Her father became like a zombie pretty much for many years until he met Rena. I'm gonna call her Rena. Until he met Rena, and then he started becoming happy. But unfortunately, Rena views Rena as a stranger that once again is invading her home, her family. Just like all those years ago with her mom's friend, Uncle Toshiro, or whatever his name was. And she's still, she's asking herself the question of, why is everyone else around me so happy? Why aren't I happy? Everyone else is so happy, and I'm supposed to be the happy one, the optimistic girl. But yet I'm sad. But yeah, that single episode told us so much about Reina and possibly a explanation of why she had the epiphany of going back to Himizawa because Oshiro said so to her. Could be just an excuse because of the divorce. But yeah, I want to mention something real quick. From what I've read from the comments, people looks like fans of Higurashi. I don't know the whole overview. Tend to like chapter 3 and chapter 6, and I think the reason why that is because chapter 3 and chapter 6 tackle very real issues in the best way you can handle these very real issues. Ryuku 07 takes these issues, is able to use them so wonderfully, and is able to incorporate it into the story, because the handling of it is it's magnificent in my opinion, even though I haven't experienced either of the things described in chapter 3 or chapter 6 so far. I feel like he's handling it very well, and it's fantastically written, just like everything else in Higurashi. But enough talking, let's just get right into it. The store where my father ordered the jackets from is a fancy bouquet. It's hard to believe my father would shop at a store like this on his own. Could tell right away that Rena-san took him here. I handed over his receipt to the cashier. A short time later, the store manager came out wearing the perplexed look.
龍宮様、大変申し訳ございません。実は入荷のトラックが高速で事故渋滞に巻き込まれているようでございまして、おそらくはもうじき到着すると思うのですが。
He said that the driver called a while ago, told him he just got off the highway and would be here in about an hour. I didn't need to know all the details, but he explained them to me anyway. I asked him if I should come back tomorrow. He insisted I should wait because the truck would be coming shortly, and he urged me to take a seat on their sofa. But I didn't really feel comfortable waiting there, so I told him I'd be back soon and left the store. I wondered if there was any fast food restaurants nearby. I might have to go all the way back to the station. I looked around and found a coffee house. The glass on the door was black, so I couldn't see inside. But there was a poster saying the price for a cup of tea is lower than normal for women on weekdays. I'd just be going to get a cup of tea to kill some time. It should be okay. But still, I hesitated to go inside before opening the door. Her first impression of the coffee house was the smell of cigarettes. It's normal for coffee houses to be filled with cigarette smoke. It's like a requirement. But Lena still regretted her decision. While she was thinking about leaving, the perpetrator spoke to her briskly and showed her to a table. Lena gave up on the idea of leaving and sat down. The atmosphere in the shop was far from a clean, normal coffee house where you would go to simply enjoy coffee and cigarettes. It was more like a place where vulgar people would hang around. Lena didn't feel comfortable at all, but what bothered her most was the laughter of a man and a woman sitting together in the very back of the shop. The table was behind a planter, so depending on how one looked at it, one could say she was in the spot most protected from their laughter. But Lena looked as though she wanted to leave as soon as she finished her tea. The bell hanging from the entrance door rang, letting her know a customer just came in. It was a little surprising for her that a coffee shop like this could draw in so many customers. Lena peeked at the newcomers from behind the planter. There was 2 of them. They looked like vulgar men, kind of people you didn't want to get involved with the instant you saw them. The perpetrator tried to show them to a table, but they ignored him and walked towards the back. They walked up to the couple who had been laughing wildly and greeted them with a bow.
Oh.
Tepe?
やっと来よったんか。まあ座れや。
The couple stopped laughing, and the man told the newcomers to sit down in a threatening tone of voice. As instructed, the 2 of them took a seat.
んでどういうこったん。
すんまへん。なんとかその。
豪宅はええねポゲ。とっととうなるもんさらさんかい。
2 of them looked at each other before they each took an envelope out of their pockets and put it on the table. The man roughly grabbed the 2 envelopes and tore one of them open. Inside there were many wrinkled 1,000-yen bills bound into a bundle with a rubber band. He opened the other one to make sure it also had cash in it, and then threw it to the woman.
おい、数えんね。
ちょっと、私に命令しないでくれる？
Oh.
もともと私の金なんだから。
じゃがましい。黙って数えんなええんねん。
The man yelled at the woman. She licked her thumb, looking annoyed, and started counting the cash expertly. The 2 newcomers hung their heads while she counted. Lighting a cigarette, the man waited for her to finish counting.
はいよ、全部あるわよ。
The woman said that after flicking through the last bill. The newcomers looked relieved. The man, however, didn't look satisfied as he stared at the bundle of the bills the woman was holding.
いつかそれいくらあった。
ん？全部って言ったわよ。
全部っていくらかっちゅって聞いとんねん。
だから、私が貸した金全部だって言ってるでしょ。
バカ。利子はついとるか聞いとるんねん。
The man and Witsko yelled at each other. Even though they were making all the noise, the other customers acted like they didn't hear anything.
おい、兄さん方。200万ビッタンこっきゃないね。どういうこっちゃ。
2 of them were trying to find some excuses to make. It seemed like this behavior had touched a man's nerves as he started looking furious.
おら黙っとったらわからんがな。
His angry voice echoed throughout the shop. He hit the table hard and dropped a glass on the floor. The noise thickened the tension in the atmosphere.
すんまへん。
すまんで済んだら警察はいらんちゅうねん。こちとら出るとこ出ても一個に構わんでんの。
それはどうかご勘弁ください。
Yeah, looks like Tepe was a loan shark on the side. And it seemed like the mistress he went out with was Rena. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? That's an interesting connection. The two newcomers must have been in an extremely vulnerable position. They bowed so deeply that their foreheads almost touched the table.
それを勘弁したるって今日呼んだんねん。それがどういうけじめのつけ方な。あ？
すんまへん、エロすんまへん。
While you could pity them, the newcomers looked as vulgar as the man fronting them, making it hard to decide whether you should feel sorry for them or not. After a while, Witsuko opened her mouth as if to offer them help.
てっちゃん、すごんじゃかわいそうでしょ。ごめんね、うちの人銭絡むとすぐトサカに来ちゃう人で。
I have to say, Teppei looks like a typical fucking Yakuza enemy you would find on this sheet. It's perfect.
銭絡むと余計だんねん。お前にあやつけよったんから本気になっとんよ、おら。
もうバカなこと言っても何にも出ないわよ。
The man pulled Witsuko roughly into his arms and frantically kissed her lips without caring about the other customers. Their kiss wasn't like the lovely ones that normal couples will share. It looked obscene instead. He let her lips go to take a breath, kissed him again, and repeated that for a while. After a while, he finally got bored of kissing and let her go.
うちの人は私のことになるとすぐ頭に血が上っちゃうのよね。困ったもんなのよ。
ああ、そうよ。こいつと俺はいわば一心同体ね。この女に泥塗り腐るやつは俺に塗ったんと同じやんな。血祭りじゃすまんね。
いつぞやかの、ほら、あいつ。あれ、表連れてってからどうしたんだったっけ？
あんバカが。表へ出るとか抜かしょんから、かかとくれてやったわ。野郎空手やるとか抜かしおるからどの程度か思うたん。ちょっとしばいたら即土下座やん。拍子抜けしたからズボン脱がせて、そいつでこの表の歩道を磨かせてやったわ。
Also, I got this awesome fucking party trick. I can move my mouth without moving my cigarette.
おお、俺町の役に立っとんね。お役所に表彰してもらいたいんわ。
やだ、そんなことさせたの？あんたって時々容赦がないのよね。
They started laughing loudly like they were doing earlier. The laughter obviously intimidated their companions.
ねえ、あんたたち。てっちゃん、今日はね、すっごく機嫌がいいの。普段だったら銭が足りんって騒ぎ出して、今頃あんたたちすっぱだかにされて玉子川に叩き込まれてるわよ。
すんまへん、すんまへん。
まあ、利子は忘れたちゅうたかて、かっちり期日までに額を揃えたんだきゃ感心さな。そこいらへん評価したってもええんで。
それでね、てっちゃんの利子ちょいとあんまりだと思ったのよ。
So I was right. No shark. Yeah.
今日だから5本で済むけど、すぐに売買ゲームになっちゃうでしょ。
Definitely a Yakuza enemy. Typical goon.
そしたらあんたたちすぐに逆立ちしても払えなくなっちゃうわよ。でね、私あんたたちにいい話があんの。てっちゃん、悪いけどあんたちょっと席を外してちょうだい。
しょうがねえな。
The man left the table with a grin and headed for the bathroom. He was far too amenable to that request, as if they'd both planned for him to leave the table at that moment. Ritsuko made sure he was in the bathroom, then took some papers out of her bag and spread them on the table.
あんたたちも若いんだから。 あんなヤクザに絡まれて一生を不意にしたくないでしょ。だからね、てっちゃんの利子は今日きっちり払っちゃいなさい。そうすればあんたたちはとりあえずあいつとは縁を切れるわけなんだから。
そりゃそうですけど、でも50万なんてこれ以上もう払えないっす。
まあそうよね。200万だって相当精一杯集めたんでしょ。さらに50万も工面できるあてなんてないでしょう。
They must have done their very best to collect even the money they brought today. So it must be impossible for them to collect even a dime from anybody now. They hung their heads and told her that.
でね、ほら気を利かせて私が書いてきてあげたのよ。
The guys looked at the paper on the table and muttered under their breaths.
担保も連帯もいらないんでちょいと利率はあれだけど、これなら即50万積んでくれるわよ。それにさ、この利率でもてっちゃんの利率よりははるかにマシだと思うんだけど、どう思うかしら。
It would be easy for anyone to guess what Witsuko was trying to force him to do.
これにサインしたのを見せれば彼も男気を感じて勘弁してくれると思うわね。
I have to say, this is one hell of a side hustle.
どうする？あ、万年筆使うなら置いとくわよ。
They read the small print on the documents and were stunned by the outrageous interest rate. Witsuko didn't force them to do anything. She just looked out the window and smoked her cigarette. After a while, the man returned from the bathroom.
おう、話はついたか。
They looked at him, steeled themselves, and took the pen.
てっちゃんの利子借金で一括返済するって。
おうおう、関心なワークオートだね。男は背負うもんがなくちゃあかんね。
They must have planned this from the very beginning. The man and Witsuko got what they wanted and grinned at each other. There were many things to fill out on the documents. It was taking them a long time. The man and Witsuko, already knowing that, started talking amongst themselves.
律子、お前のひなみ沢の旦那の調子はどうなんね。
ん？旦那なんてよしてよね。
どうなんよ。だいぶ銭持っとんと聞かされてるん。どのぐらい絞れそうなんよ。
そうそう、それがさ、すっごいのよ。別れた奥さんがだいぶ慰謝料をくれたらしいってのは聞いてたのよ。でもね、それが本当にすっげえあるらしいのよね。
かなりってどのぐらいねん。
銀行に5000万くらい持ってるわよ。あぶく銭なわけだしね。もう気前がいいのなんのって。
Oh, shit.
なんねそれ。で、どの辺まで行けそうなんね。
私にだいぶお熱みたいだからね。だって私が言えば何でも買うのよ。何でも。あんたみたいなドケチとは大違いよね。私も本気になっちゃおうかしら。
抜かせボケ。俺以上の男が他にいるか。
もうこんなところでよしてよ。もう。
で、そのひなみ沢の旦那にどう持ってくつもりなんよ。
あんたを出しに手切れ金がいるって方向で持ってくつもりなのよ。
なんぼふっかけるつもりね。
そりゃ
つっくづく恐ろしい女じゃんねえ。エキストラがいるときは呼んでえな。俺も大暴れしちゃるんで。
すみません。 書きました。
ああ。じゃ、それ持ってドローン行こうか。
Shit.
律子、会計頼むね。
The man pat them on their shoulders and then walked to the door. Another person was just about to enter. They nearly ran into each other. The man probably wouldn't make way for the person, considering his personality. But when he noticed who that person was, he stepped aside. Kasai. The person looked as vulgar as all the other men. Oh shit. He was wearing a black suit with sunglasses on. He wasn't that big, but his stern look was very intimidating. It was clear at a glance that he was a gangster, and a professional one at that. The man who was behaving badly earlier looked a little nervous in front of him. As Witsuko finished paying the check, she noticed the man in the suit.
総支配人。
Ah.
どうも、おはようございます。
So Tepe's mainly just the goon. The man in the suit said nothing. He just raised his chin as if saying, fuck off. Witsuko and the others bowed to him and left the shop in a hurry. The perpetrator noticed the man in the suit, also greeting him with a bow. Who could he have been? He appeared sedate compared to the other men, but he must be dangerous, because he made even them step aside. Everybody in the shop thought the same thing and tried not to look at him. The man in the suit looked around and found the menu in the wall. The perpetrator walked up to him hesitantly.
Master.
はい。何か部長報がございましたでしょうか。
この日替わりデザートのスイートなんとかというのは今日はやっているのか。
いえ、本当は今日はやってないんですが、どうしてもとおっしゃるんでしたら特別にご用意を。
無理なら無理と言ってくれればいい。出直す。
ほら、葛西特別にご用意って言ってくれてるじゃないですか。ここまで来てみっともない。
So interesting. Now that we're so deep into the story, we can make all these little connections to all these different characters. The girl seemed to be the only one who couldn't read the heavy atmosphere in the shop, and she came in laughing cheerfully. It was Mion Sonozaki's twin sister, Shion. Shion pushed Kasai into the store while he hesitated. She looked at a girl who was sitting down and stopped in her tracks.
あれ？やっぱりそうだ。ハロローン。レナさんじゃないですか。こんにちは。
あ、しーちゃん？
こんなとこで会うなんてびっくりです。あれ？お一人？ひょっとして誰かと待ち合わせ？お姉かな？いやいや、ひょっとしてケイちゃんかな？
しーちゃん、その連れの人は？
葛西のこと？まあ、私のボディーガードとか思っといてください。命の危険が迫ったら葛西が守ってくれるんだよね。
それがお望みでしたら命に変えてでも。
うわー、葛西、あと20も若かったらやばいかもだね。顔は怖いけど面白いやつです。こちらはね、竜宮レナさん。
I'm thinking back to chapter 3 now. I think it makes a lot more sense of like the reason why Tepe went back to Himizawa was that he was on the run from Mion's dad's Yakuza group or whatever. So that must have meant the mistress that was murdered was Rina, who maybe fucked up on a loan or whatever, and she was killed, and fucking Tepe took that as a warning to get the fuck out of there.
お姉のお友達。
葛西です。よろしく。
葛西さん、さっきすれ違った人たちは知り合いですか？
Kasai nodded, indicating that he was familiar with them.
誰？私は全然あんなの見たことないけど。
男は北条哲平。ちょいと礼儀知らずのろくでなしです。
Shion seemed to know who he was once she heard the name Hojo.
女の人の方は？
間宮里奈。源氏名だと思いました。確か律子って名前だったかと。フラワーロードの店の一つで働いてる従業員です。
Gotcha.
葛西さん、里奈さんとその北条さんはどういう人たちなんですか？とても仲が良さそうに見えました。
北条は確か里奈とは深い仲かと。たちの悪い連中ですので、関わり合いになられない方がいいと思います。
Gotcha, okay.
どうたちが悪いんですか？
Rena pressed him for the answer, and Kasai seemed to back down a little from the pressure.
女の私生活には触れないのが仁義ってもんです。
どうたちが悪いんですか？
それはご勘弁を。
どうたちが悪いんですか？
Rena kept asking the same question until she got an answer. Chion sensed how desperate Rena was and cut into the conversation.
葛西、意地悪しないで教えてあげなさいよ。興味本位で聞いてるわけじゃなさそうだしさ。ね、レナさん。
There was tension developing between Rena and Kasai. Shion seemed to be the only one who can read the mood. Kasai finally opened his mouth.
あの二人はたちの悪いろくでなしどもです。恐喝と博打で生計を立ててると聞いています。詐欺行為もやるって話で。
詐欺ってどんな？
あいつらの詐欺ってのは、まあ何？結婚詐欺ってやつですか？
Marriage fraud.
要するに、男の人に言い寄っていい感じになったところで相棒の男が乱入して俺の女に何しやがるって金を巻き上げる古典的恐喝です。
Huh.
散々貢がされた挙句根こそぎ巻き上げようっていうクズどもです。最近でかい相手を引っ掛けたらしいと噂になっています。
じゃあそりゃあどちら様か存じないけど気の毒なことで。でもまあ鼻の下を伸ばした代償なわけだし自業自得。
Oh boy.
そんな言い方はないもんです。男は時にコロッと女に騙されちまうもんですよ。
Yeah, in the case of a guy that got divorced and was in the impressive episode for years.
ほー
And there goes Rena.
何それ、葛西をコロッと騙した女って誰？マスター、デザートは私と葛西とあとレナさんでって。あれ？
今お帰りになりましたよ。
Rena was already gone. The door, which she had just closed, looked as if it was the only thing that knew where she went. Well, shit. Her greatest fears have been fucking realized. Of an intruder tricking her father and taking all of his fucking money. Let's see where the fuck this goes. When I got home, the door was locked. I used my key to get in, and I found a note in the living room. Something's come up, so I have to go. Wanted to eat out tonight is what the note said. This wasn't the first time he'd done something like this. Each time he only told me he had to go to Okayama for something. But I knew the real reason, because I heard him talking on the phone once. Wina-san must have had some free time between jobs and asked him out to have dinner tonight together. I heaved a sigh, looked at the new living room I hated, and went to my room. I thought back over what I just heard at the coffee house. I tried to rationalize the meaning of her actions there. Maybe she had to pretend to be a bad person because she was being threatened by the man. But even after the man she called Tae-chan left the table, she continued to threaten the guys and pushed them into signing the loan contract immediately. If she was threatening to play along with the man, she wouldn't have done that. She was pretending to be a bad person. She could have shown a little bit of mercy, of sympathy when he left her alone with them. It's like holding water in a bowl you made with your hands. No matter how sturdy you made the bowl, water would leak from your fingers. Mercy and sympathy leak out from you. But nothing, not even a drop of water, leaked from Rina-san. Her hands weren't even moist. They were all dried up. There's no water that could leak through those hands. Rina-san was threatening those guys as much as the man was. Neither was leading the other along. They were doing it together. That was it. Rina-san is a bad person. My brain cells accepted the idea with applause. After all, I always hated Rina-san. I just couldn't accept the feeling because my father liked her. But at that moment I could finally accept it. She's a bad person, just like my mother. She's an existence that will ruin everything and destroy my father's happiness just by being with him. But I wonder if my father would understand that Rina-san is a bad person if I told him so. My father likes her so much that he would jump over a cliff if she asked him to. He thinks everything she does or says is great, and he interprets everything about her in a positive way. He protects her and praises her without her asking him to. I'm not a kid anymore. I understand how a woman can tame a man. It's different from love. Love is about trying to build a relationship. Taming is just a way of satisfying the lust to dominate. She's just trying to make him into her slave. Women can deceive men, even my father. They can use dirty methods to ensnare men like they follow in a manual. It's the weak point all men are born with. Even with a strong will, they can't resist it. That's why we hate those women who exploit that weak point to deceive men. That's why I couldn't bring myself to like Rina-san. For the sake of the argument, let's assume I acknowledge an unreciprocated love like that. But that would only be as long as it was love. If it wasn't love, if it was just a method to threaten and squeeze money out of him, I would never forgive her. I remember their conversation at the coffee house. Rina-san said that my father is a big spender. In fact, I think he spends more money without hesitation than before he met Rina-san. I was happy that he started to regain an interest in going out into the world again, but now I don't know whether I should be happy or not. He controls the money of the Rigu family overall, but since I do the grocery shopping, he often gives me his bank book so that I can withdraw money. Because of that, I know where he keeps his bank book, his personal seal, and other important stuff. They're in one of his drawers, which he usually locks. I know where he hides the key, and I know the combination of the cash box inside the drawer. He might be coming back soon, so I felt a little nervous. But I had to make sure. I opened the cash box, which had some bank books, personal seals, stamps, and unused postcards. I removed everything from the cash box to get at the bank books. Then I found something new. On the bottom of the box, there was a bundle of new 1,000-yen bills. Its thickness wasn't something I could ignore. There was also a paper wrapper that looked like it had been bundling the bills. The wrapper had a stamp that said it was the bundle of 1,000,000 yen. He usually kept some cash at home because it was troublesome to go to the bank every time he needed money, but it was usually around 100,000 to 2,000 yen at most. He's never kept such a big amount of money at home before because he knows it's unsafe. The extraordinary amount of 10,000 yen bills were abnormally intimidating. I tried to open the bank book, but my fingers got numb all of a sudden. Part of me was trying to deny the things I heard at the coffee house. It wasn't because I wanted to defend my father or even Rina-san. It was because I didn't want to believe my father was the husband and Himizawa the blackmailers were talking about. I opened the bank book. The last time I saw it was about 2 or 3 months ago. It shows countless withdrawals since that day. I probably wouldn't normally understand what those numbers meant, but I felt in that moment as if the 10 different digits were speaking to me. They were a series of cool digits. It starts with some understandable expenses that I assume represent dinners or something, but then the amount of money starts to become nice round numbers like a 5 or a 10. I can tell by looking at the dates he withdrew money that he wanted to have a certain amount of cash on hand when he went out with Rena-san. Among those expenses, a big number appeared all of a sudden. It was too much money to spend on a date, hundreds of thousands of yen. I looked at the date of the withdrawal. I traced it back in my memory. I remembered, around that time, Rena-san was talking about moving into a new apartment. I know the market rate of rental apartments in Okayama. You need to put down 2 safety deposits and 2 payments of key money in order to rent an apartment. That amount of withdrawal sounded reasonable now. He paid the whole down payment for her new apartment. After that, big numbers appeared one after another. I could tell they were for congratulatory gifts for her new apartment or something. The numbers got bigger and bigger. It looked like at first he was withdrawing only the amount of money needed, but then he started withdrawing big amounts all at once because he knew he was going to use it someday anyway. The change made only one thing. He lost his sense of the value of money. The balance kept going down, and I started feeling anxious about what's going to happen if he continued spending money like that. But then I saw this deposit of the big amount of money into the account. Where did that money come from? There was only one thing I could think of. I opened the other bank book. It was easy, like a puzzle for kids. It was like playing with an easy jigsaw puzzle that comes with huge pieces that you don't even have to put together to see what the whole picture looks like. My father was using money from his time deposits. In other words, the settlement of my mother paid my father when she divorced him. To him, it's cursed money. I understand if he wanted to use it to get a new love, but that was just an excuse to use the money from his time deposits. Money is money. Even though it's his divorce alimony, it's still important money for our future. Even though it's cursed money to him, that doesn't mean he can't waste it. Big expenses started appearing one after another. There are many expenses, upwards of 6 digits. For some reason, I could immediately tell that they were for buying electric appliances and furniture. He must have been buying everything she asked him to. If from the beginning Rina-san was only seeing to check if he could end up being a big catch, she must have been trying to find how much money she could squeeze out of him. And my father bought her anything she wanted, no matter how expensive it was, so she probably thinks of him as the perfect catch now. The numbers in the bank books told me so. The simple numbers and dates on the bank book had started talking to me. Around the time he started withdrawing big amounts of money, Rena-san started coming to the house more often. She also started spending the night. To Rena-san, my father was at first just a guy who spends big money, but around that time she landed her big catch. My father used to refer to her as my friend Nokiyama at first, but he started referring to her as Rena-san around that time. This is partially his fault. But he was betrayed by his beloved wife, and he was feeling hurt and down for a long time. It's also partially my fault. That's why I didn't want to blame him. And he's not that good looking either. There's no way he's immune to women. He must have not been able to resist an attractive lady who's aggressively approached him when he was feeling down. He's crazy about Rena-san, and he could see nothing other than her. I can't blame him, because Rena-san trained him to be that way. I put the bank books and the other things back into the cash box. This cash box is just like my father's heart. Rena-san is eating up the contents. What should I do? Think, Rena-rigu. Should I tell him about Rena-san's scheme? No, that's probably wouldn't do anything. The whole point of taming an animal is that it won't run away from its owner even when the door is wide open. My father probably won't leave his cage even if I open the door. Should I confront Rena-san about her plot when he's with her? The results would be the same. Rena-san would run behind his back. He'd probably try to protect her. She pressed her breast against his back. He'd protect her no matter what. I couldn't make this a problem between me and him. First of all, I was trying to get rid of Winasan for his sake. If we got mad at each other, it would give an advantage to Winasan. It would be like I was putting myself into a trap. Then that meant I couldn't make him do anything. If I couldn't make him wake up with Winasan, I'd have to talk to Winasan directly. So instead of making my father fight, I'd have to fight in his place. But how? That guy Kasai-san who was with Shi-chan today seemed to know the man Winasan was with. I wonder if I can somehow meet him again. He looks scary, but I was introduced to him as a friend of Mi-chan. Mi-chan has a lot of power around here. There's no way he would treat me badly. I wonder if he could tell Winasan and the man to back off from my father. That helped me out a lot. But I didn't know how I could meet him again. I could ask Mi-chan for help, but I don't want her to know about my situation. It's a problem of the Wigu family. This is nobody's business but mine. Yeah, this is a battle that I have to fight alone. I regretted my parents' divorce. I wept about the tragedy I could have prevented if I had tried. I wasn't going to weep this time. I wasn't going to let the chance slip away. This time I would fight for my happiness. Whew, shit. Okay. Well, shit, we have a goal now. Property estimate. The husband in Himizawa. Alright, let's keep going. Let's check out this tip. Dear Ritsuko Mamiya-sama, Executive Housing Corporation. Attached estimate. We thank you for your past visits and your inquiries to our office. We've included the estimate for the property you inquired about. Basic information. Property name, Palace of Versailles, room 707. Property code 14M1421. Property type, modern condominium. Layout 2 LDK. Address, Shishiborn City, Koracho to Chrome. Transportation, Lane, Goro Station, 5 minutes on foot. Cost, 49,800,000 yen. Am I reading that right? Maintenance fee, 20,000 yen. Other, Southeast Corner Room, Elevator 4. Condominium Fitness Club membership included. Thank you for your interest in this property. The area around Goryeo Station is a prime real estate zone for luxury condominiums. Along with future planned developments, the real estate values in and around the Goryeo Station are expected to rise, and this property is not an exception. As a result, many prospective buyers are interested in this property. Hence, we'd like for you to understand that the selection process for this property will be done via lottery. Also, we also offer celebrity member preferential treatment, granting highly improved chances through additional lottery entries. Please feel free to inquire with our agents for more details. Executive Housing Corporation. Celebrity Account Manager, Kawabata. Well, shit. Okay. So the reason... And how much did he have in the bank? Mostly because of the divorce settlement. I think 50 million yen, right? Son of a bitch. Here's the... And the more you buy, the more lottery tickets you get, so higher the chance. Okay. She's probably trying to buy that property and wait for the real estate property go up in value and sell it like 10 years from now. Son of a bitch. Let's continue.
りゃ多分葛西さんだね。シオンの監視役だよ。
監視役なの？
まあね。シオンのやつ、私と比べると突拍子もないことをするからさ、監視役が必要なわけよ。
ミオンもシオンもその意味においちゃ互角だと思うぞ。
Kechi-kun cut into the conversation. They ended up making a lot of noise, teasing each other like they always do. Mion made it sound like that man, Kasai-san, is some sort of territory boss in Okayama. It wouldn't be easy for me to meet him in person. Well, they did refer to him as general manager. But because he's Shi-chan's watchdog, I might be able to find a way. Problem though is that I don't have any connection to Shi-chan either. We hang out every once in a while whenever she comes to Mizawa, but I never called or visited her. I have no idea how we can meet. Even if I could meet Kasai-san, there's no guarantee that he'd help me. He seems like the kind of person who doesn't like to gossip about others. He told me about Luna-san at the coffee house only because Shi-chan pushed him to. Plus, the situation could grow way worse very quickly while we waited for the chance to meet him, so any help he might offer could come too late. I remember Kasai-san told me that, as their next step, Luna-san usually uses her partner to fund their catch. That would signify the end of her performance. They were going to take all of my father's money. I wasn't feeling a sense of crisis yet, but that time might be coming very soon. Even as I was at school, taking class peacefully, that man might already be at the house right at this moment, threatening my father to hand over his bank books. Once I become anxious, I get more and more anxious. I could feel a big pressure on my chest as if the ceiling had collapsed on me.
いやー、平和すぎて退屈だぜ。
Kechi-kun talks to me, yawning.
そうかな。レナは平和で退屈なの大好きだよ。
俺はごめんだね。せめて火星人が襲来するくらいのことが毎週とは言わないまでにも月末くらいには欲しいところだぜ。あ、定期テストはなしでだぜ。
もし本当に火星人が攻めてきて世界中が滅ぼされてひなみ沢も焼け野原になったら、ケイチ君は退屈が紛れて満足かな。
いや、そこまでは言ってねえよ。何かアクシデントの一つもないと退屈で溶けちまいそうだぜって言いたかっただけだぜ。
He had no idea what I've been going through, of course. That's why he says that. But I was still irritated by his insensitivity. I couldn't understand why he wouldn't be satisfied with such a peaceful life. He never has to doubt that today and tomorrow will be as fun as yesterday. I was all too aware that boring, peaceful days could be destroyed all of a sudden. I knew that boring, peaceful days could come to an end all of a sudden because your mom wanted to divorce your dad. I knew that you could feel like you didn't belong anywhere in your own house because your dad had got a new girlfriend. Even so, you had to repeat the same kind of day over and over again. That's why I want to live every day happily in order to be prepared when the world comes to its end.
レナは日々が幸せそうでいいよな。そういうのもスキルなのかな。ちょっと羨ましいぜ。
そんなの羨ましがられても困るの。
I think the reason why Lena hopes for the same, peaceful days over and over and over again is that she feels like she doesn't have a lot of stability in her life, of a foundation. She doesn't feel like she has a foundation in her life because her family's always changing, strangers coming in, taking away the people she loves. Her mom divorcing her dad, or this new girlfriend coming in to dry her dad for all of his worth. She simply just wants stability, a foundation. And she thinks back to those days of when her father was a a zombie with fondness because it was stable. It was a foundation which she could jump off. Even though her father was in pain for many, many years, she still viewed it as something. It was foundational. We all need foundation in our lives. And the biggest foundation in most of ours is family. Of having parents, of having siblings. A family you could always come back to. You know. A certain thing in this world of change. Where every week, hell, every day, something changes. It could be the most insignificant thing in the world, or it could be the biggest. We need foundation in our lives in order to not drive us insane. Trying to keep up with so much, a billion changes that happen in a week.
「日々を退屈でなく幸せに過ごすのって何かコツでもあるのか？あるなら教えてくれよ。俺も得得してみたいぜ。」
そんなの簡単だよ。気づくだけだもん。
気づくって？
There's no way he could realize it. It was probably better that he didn't. Because that meant he was truly happy.
気づくだけだよ。幸せな日々が有限であることに。
The three of us walked home from school like we always did. Mi-chan said goodbye to us at the corner of the street where she took her separate way home. She walked away waving, but I chased after her.
Mi-chan!
何？
Mi-chan apparently thought she dropped something and she looked around to see what she had dropped.
忘れるところだった。実はね、昨日喫茶店でしーちゃんと笠井さんに会ったの。その時にね、笠井さんの落とし物を拾ったの。
Of course, he hadn't dropped anything. I was lying. If I could meet him, I'd just show him whatever, tell him I thought it was his, and apologize for my mistake.
へえ、あ、そう。それありがとう。届けとくよ。
それでね、レナが直接返したいの。
Mi-chan looked surprised. I couldn't blame her. I met him only once. It's weird to want to give something back in person to someone you barely know.
まあ、そりゃ構わないけど。
サングラスにおひげがね、ちょっぴり可愛かったの。
Could I fudge my true intentions with my cute mode? I tried it anyway. Mi-chan usually takes words at their face value, and Dichi seemed to buy it.
口ひげを引っこ抜いてお持ち帰りしちゃダメだよ。
で、その、どうかな？会えるかな？
忙しいのか暇なのか全然見当つかない人だからね。今度ひなみ沢に来る用事がないか聞いておくよ。
I needed to know when as soon as possible. Of course, I wasn't going to say I wanted to meet him today, but at least tomorrow or the day after tomorrow.
なんだよ、お前ら何やってんだ？
レナがね、新しい恋に目覚めちゃったんだってさ。
違うよ。
なんだそりゃ、面白そうな話だな。 俺も混ぜろ混ぜろ。
I didn't want her to leave it up in the air, so I told her I think I should give it back to him as soon as possible. I'm sure he's looking for it too. Mi-chan said okay twice and walked away, waving. I hadn't yet thought about how I was going to ask for help when I would meet him. He seems to be in a higher position than Wina-san and her partner. If he agreed to help me, it would be very encouraging. But there was a possibility that he'd tell me he didn't want to interfere in other people's private matters. He could just say the whole thing was another love triangle between a father, his daughter, and his lover.
じゃあなレナ。また明日な。
また明日ね。
I said goodbye to Kechi-kun and walked home alone. After Kechi-kun was gone, everything went quiet and my head became clear. What I needed at that moment was quiet time to think about what I should do from then on. I shouldn't depend on Kasai-san to solve my problem. He most likely declined my request, so I'll have to think about some alternatives. It's probably better than that I just do that. A love triangle between a father, his daughter, and his lover. Those words bothered me because I've seen an unhappy triangle like that before. That sort of thing had happened to Satoshi-kun. Satoshi-kun experienced it last year. He fought for his sister in a triangle with his aunt. It was the same situation as mine. I'm trying to fight to protect my father. Satoshi-kun fought alone. Nobody helped him. All I did for him was give him my sympathy and compassion. I didn't think I could do anything more than that. I felt sorry for him, but I didn't really help him out. Irresponsibly, I tried to cheer him up. I probably told him something that I thought would make him feel better, but that hurt him instead. I recently realized how much I hurt him with my insensitivity, because Kechi just hurt me the same way. I'm going down the same path Satoshi-kun went last year. I feel like I'm experiencing deja vu, an unusual repetition. Would that mean that'd be the one who gets to me in the way this year? Should be okay. I wasn't thinking about running away from Himizawa. Was I? I wasn't thinking about running away from Himizawa, but I thought about running away from my home many times. That's why I made the place I could escape to in the garbage dump. That dump happened to be in Himizawa. But what if it wasn't? Running there would be the same thing as running away from Himizawa. I shouldn't think like that. Osho-sama will get mad at me. Osho-sama is really scary. I saw flickering lights in my head. Oh no, every time I try to remember that time, my mind would stop working properly. I remember the vivid colors of my psychoactive drugs. The flickering lights and clouds started spreading in my head. They were so bright and annoying. Don't try too hard to remember. Don't try too hard to remember. Ah, no. I couldn't stop the flickering lights in my head. Couldn't have that feeling. I had to fill my heart with another feeling. Yeah, there's no time for these crazy flickering lights in my head. I had to think about what I should do when Kasai-san declined my request for help. I had to protect my father from Rena-san and that bad man. Wait, why was I still calling her that? Rena is Rena. She's a bad person to deceive my father and try to bring us unhappiness. Bad people bring bad things into the world without even doing anything. They're different from the other 90% of people who aren't bad. If you let them loose, they'll even ruin the people around them. When you have one bad tangerine in a box, it spreads its fungus to the other tangerines around it. That's what bad people are like. I can remember how Satoshi-kun resolved his triangle last year, but I could still see the flickering lights in my head. They're still flickering, they're still flickering, they're still flickering, they're still flickering, they're still flickering. They're still flickering. Just as the swirl of flickering lights were making me dizzy, I saw my house. I also saw a Renaissance scooter parked by the side of the gate. The moment I saw the bike, the flickering lights disappeared and I regained control of myself. Una-san spent the night last night. She told me she had to work today in the evening, so she should be leaving soon. But I didn't want to be around her, even for the little while until she left. I said I'm home real loud, rushed into the house, pretending that my friends were waiting outside, and rushed out of the house. But when Una-san stopped me.
あら、おかえり、レイナちゃん。
あ、こんにちは。
This was the first time I thought Una-san's smile was ugly. It only stood to reason. I had realized the scheme she was hiding behind the smile.
今日ね、お父さんと一緒にお昼は5グラまで行ってきたのよ。キーマカレーがとっても美味しいお店でね。
My father poked his head out of the living room and he says I want to go there again next time we go. I really like that curry. I wonder if he meant with me next time or with me and her. Anyway, I hate it when Una-san says your father.
それでレトルトをお土産に買ってきたの。後でぜひ食べてみてね。美味しいから。レイナちゃんはこのお店知ってる？
I didn't know the restaurant she was talking about. I saw it in a magazine. It's a new restaurant that just opened recently. I also remember that it was an expensive restaurant. The amount of money they spent on the take-home curry alone must have been enough to cover the cost of all our dinners for several nights. Since I was aware of what was in the bank books, it was hard for me to stay calm.
それは楽しみです。ありがとうございますね、リナさん。
それでね、レイナちゃん。ちょっとみんなでお話があるんだけど。
ごめんなさい。ちょっと友達を待たせてるんで出かけますね。またゴミ捨て場で宝探しなの。
レイナちゃんは宝探しが好きね。私も今度行ってみようかしら。
ではすみません。失礼します。
Every time Rina-san moves her arms or head, the scent of her perfume struck my nostrils. I hate the smell of her perfume, so I couldn't stay there a second longer. I rushed out of the house and started running to get away from her perfume. The rubber band inside me, the one called Rena, was stretched all the way to its limit. I'm pretty sure I'd explode and go crazy if the rubber band broke. I didn't want to feel like that inside my own house. My house was supposed to be the place where I could open my heart freely. I ran away. I ran away from there. I ran further and further away from there because it was no longer a place I belonged. It's not that I had a destination in mind, I was just running away. I was running to escape to a place where I did belong. Didn't I decide to fight against that woman? Didn't I decide to fight against her either by myself or with my father? But then once I saw her fake smile, a chill ran up my back. It was like I picked up a stone, found a carpet of bugs underneath it, and put it back in the ground in a hurry. I rushed out of the house as fast as I could. Did I want to fight or did I want to run away? Was I just choosing to spend a peaceful time in my hideout, believing that tomorrow would be the same as today? I couldn't do that. I didn't know when they'd spring their trap. I couldn't afford to waste any time. I knew that deep down. I knew that, but I just wanted to run away. Couldn't stop myself from running away. So I did run away. Times like this, the mattress in my hideout would feel so soft. That I know. Jeez. The cries of the Higurashi were soothing to the ears. They sounded so as soft as my mattress. They were like music. They didn't force any feelings upon me. They cried as if to tell me to just be who I am. It was always so quiet here that I immediately noticed the purr of an engine coming closer. People used to come here and make a lot of noise during the game conflict, but now nobody really comes here. This is a place forgotten. So it was rare to see somebody come through here at all. I sat on the roof of an abandoned car and waited for the intruder to go away without looking their way. But the purr of the engine stopped. I'm not stupid. If it stopped, I knew exactly who it had to be. I heard the person calling me, but I ignored it once. The person came closer, making it hard for me to ignore her, and she called my name again. I turned around this time.
リナさん。
レイナちゃん、結構耳遠い方？
すみません。多分逆風だったんで聞こえにくかったんだと思います。
She seemed to buy my poor excuse. She smiled and said, yeah, it happens sometimes.
一人？お友達は？
一人で遊んでますよ。
ふーん。その年でなかなか渋いわね。
Rina-san stretched and looked across a huge garbage dump.
しかし、よくもこれだけ盛大にスクラップばっか捨てたもんよね。知ってる？昔、平坂の2丁目にもタイヤの外れた車ばっかり積んであるところがあってね。
I wasn't interested in Rina-san's old story, but I pretended to listen and nodded. She doesn't take this road to go back to Okayama. I guess she knew I'd be here and came by to see me. What did she want? It was obvious that she was just trying to make conversation. She probably took it personally when I avoided her earlier, which must be why she was here to butter me up. It would be better for her not to have any conflicts with the daughter of the man she's seen, no matter what the intention seeing him is. In that sense, it was a reasonable action for her to take. I listened to her old story. All I could think about was when she was going to leave. Didn't I have to fight against her? Didn't I decide to fight against her? Didn't I find out her plot at the coffee house in Okayama? Didn't I find out that this woman is squeezing money out of my father when I looked inside his cash box? I know who you are. Please leave my father alone. How easy it would be if those 2 sentences could solve the problem. She'd probably deny it. Even if I told her about what I heard at the coffee house, I have no evidence of her plot. If she said she did it because the vulgar man was threatening her, there would be nothing I could do. But I know this woman is a bad person. I know something horrible will happen in the near future if I waste time like this. Strange, tense feelings started coming over me, but I didn't know how to let it out. As the feeling started running high, I became unable to stand the smell of her perfume. I wanted to put a certain distance between me and her, so I climbed down the slope of the scrap heap. I kept going down and down, slopes of the garbage dump. When I turned around, I saw her coming down as well, muttering. Was she following me? In order to run away from her, I started running down the slope all the way to the bottom, went around behind some trash piles, and arrived at the front of my hideout. My escape was meaningless. Not only was she going to catch up with me eventually, all I did was let her know the way to my hideout that nobody is supposed to know about. I wanted to make sure she never saw my precious hideout. I was about to leave, but then she appeared.
へえ、ちょっと素敵よね。秘密基地みたい。
私だけの秘密の隠れ家なんですよ。ここには誰も来ないし、誰にも何も聞こえません。
It felt strange hearing myself say that.
レイナちゃんだけの秘密の隠れ家？嬉しいわね。そんな場所に連れてきてもらえるなんて。
She must have thought I told her my secret because she was worth sharing it with. She looked happy. She found the station wagon, looked inside of it through the window, and went all ooh and ah excitedly. This is a secret place that nobody else knows. I felt my consciousness was separating from my body like I was floating. But it didn't feel good. Like when I drank amakasek, it was more like being carsick. I felt like I was going to throw up. My brain was probably secreting some chemical in order to avoid facing the reality that I have to stay with this woman, that I couldn't run away from her. But even if my brain tried to avoid recognizing it, the reality in front of me wouldn't change.
そうそう。 ねえレイナちゃん、
何でしょう。
どうしたの？気分悪いの？
いえ、平気です。
I inhaled fresh air and pulled my consciousness back to reality. I didn't feel like throwing up anymore, but I still felt off balance. I leaned onto a scrap of garbage to keep my balance.
私はレイナちゃんのこと好きよ。レイナちゃんは私のこと好き？
何ですか突然。
I said that because I didn't want to say that I like her.
私ね、ずっとあなたのお父さんとお付き合いをしているんだけど、いろいろと話し合ってね。
I need to stop feeling like this. Get up, Brenna. I heard something like this before. Part of me was trying to understand what this woman was trying to say, but another part of me was trying not to. I felt as if her words were bouncing around in my head, and I started having a headache.
それでね、これからのことを真剣に話し合ったのよ。これからの生活やいろいろよ。
What?
レイナも秋人おじさんのこと好きでしょ？
Oh boy.
それでね、お母さん。
What's going on? Mother? What are you thinking about, Rena Riku? This is an important moment. You're about to have a one-on-one battle with Rena-san. No, Mom, what about my dad? What about me? I don't want you to divorce him. I don't want you to get remarried to anybody else. No, please don't divorce him. I'm not going to let you do that. I'm not going to let you get remarried.
再婚なんて許さないです。
え？
Oh.
お父さんとどういう付き合い方をしたって構いませんが、再婚なんて許さないです。
She must have not thought that I'd say it straight out like that. She looked stunned. After a while, she broke the silence with her laughter.
拒絶もあるかなとは思ってたけど、ここまではっきり言われるとは思わなかったもんだから。
What is this music?
拒絶もあるかなと思っていました。私が拒絶していたのに気づいていたのは意外でした。
そんなのわかるでしょ。あんた、私と目を合わせるとすぐ逃げるもん。
Shit.
それで分かってないなんて思ってた？子供は嫌ね。
She frowned, revealing her ugly self. It should have been the first time I saw her face like that, but I wasn't surprised at all. Her face had looked like that to me from the beginning.
できれば上辺だけでもあんたとは仲良くしてたかったんだけど、ここまで嫌われちゃ難しいわね。私のどこが気に入んないの？高額のために教えてよ。
最初っから全部。匂いも嫌い。
One vicious word came out from my mouth after another. I didn't have wings, but I felt as if I was flying up to the sky. It felt weird and uncomfortable, but also exhilarated. It felt as if I was letting another me use my body. I was in the middle of a disastrous battlefield, but I felt like it wasn't even my business.
そりゃあ好都合ね。私もあんたのこと嫌いだったから、お互い様よね。なめんなクソガキ。ガタガタ言わされてえか。
二度と家へ来ないでください。再婚なんて私が絶対に許さない。
別にあんたに許してもらわなくてもいいんだけど。まああんたがうまく立ち回ってお父さんに再婚を断念させたきゃさせてごらんって。そんなの今さら意味ないし。
She didn't look intimidated by me at all. That made me feel a little intimidated in return. Why was she so confident of her absolute control over my father? She had to have more than confidence to be able to act as fearless as this. She must have had something tangible. Before I asked her what it was, she told me herself.
私ね、プロポーズされたの。
Oh, shit.
嘘じゃないわよ。本当よ。
It's a lie, it's a lie, it's a lie, it's a big lie. She has to divorce because she got pregnant. She has to get married because she got pregnant. That's a lie. That's a big lie.
向こうからのお願いだから聞かないわけにもいかないしね。指輪ももらっちゃったし。
Oh, son of a bitch.
それに結婚を前提のお付き合いだったわけだしね。
Oh, you fucking bitch.
指輪まで送っておいて、今さらちゃぶ台返しなんてことになると、最近は問題が多いわよね。
それが最初から目的のくせに、私は聞いてるんだ。お前と鉄という男が二人で喫茶店で話しているところを聞いてるんだ。お父さんのお金を目当てに近づいたのを知っている。ひなみ沢の旦那と呼んで詐欺にかけようとしていることを知ってる。葛西さんに聞いたから全部知ってるんだ。詐欺師だってことも全部知って
るんだ。あら、全部知ってるんだ。あらららららら。
Before I knew it, Rina was standing right in front of me. We glared at each other with our faces almost touching.
で、レイナちゃんはそこまで知っててどうしようってわけ？
お父さんに二度と近づかないでください。
嫌よって言ったらこんな秘密の隠れ家に誘ってくれての話だからね。そういうお話かなとは思ってたのよ。だってここ秘密の隠れ家なんでしょ。誰も知らなくて誰にも何も聞こえない秘密の場所なんでしょ。
ええ、そうですよ。誰も知らなくて誰にも何も聞こえない、誰も訪れることのない忘れられた場所。
Our faces were so close to each other that our noses could almost touch. I knew what I was talking about, but I didn't know what would happen next. Couldn't back down now that I'd come to this point, but I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what I should do.
いやだ、何をマジになってんだかね。ほらほら、仲直り。
Lena started laughing and slapped me on the back. My expression didn't change and I kept staring at Lena, but I didn't notice her real intention of putting both her arms around my neck. The tension broke, already stretched thin, and Lena squeezing my neck hard. Shit. I was openly hostile, but I didn't realize Lena's evil intentions until she started choking me.
子供のくせに舐めやがってよ。
God damn, man.
もうちょいでうん千万って金が転がるんだよ。上辺だけでも仲良しってことになってりゃ小遣いの少しもやろうって思ってたのにな。口ばっかり滑らしか、うんだらねえとこでまだるっこし。血にさらせやこら。
I tried to pry her hands off my neck, but I didn't have the strength to do so. Holy fuck.
殺しはしたかなかったんだけどね。二度とこんなうまいかもには会えないだろうしさ。てめえ閉めてうん千万なら悪くはないさね。どうせ巻き上げたら蒸発するつもりだったしさ。上等くれたらこの野郎。
The world around me got darker and darker. I had never known an evil intention like this, namely the intention to kill me. It didn't scare me though. That's because being scared is a feeling that people use to express how they feel when they see wildfire on the other side of a river. People on the island with the wildfire, with their death sweat in front of them, they don't get scared. If I loosened my grip on her hands even a little bit, she crushed my throat. This was a simple competition to see who was stronger. Rena wanted to get into the most advantageous position, so she tried to push me down to the ground so that she could mount me. If I let her do that, I wouldn't stand a chance. I tried to keep my current position, but I was losing a lot of energy by being choked. It was only a matter of time before Rena could push me down. I lost my balance on purpose. I tried to fall backwards in order to put her off balance. Couldn't hold my breath long enough to keep up that strength competition, so I had no choice but to take that chance. We fell on the ground, tangled together. But as Rena was strongly determined to kill me, she didn't even take her hands away from my neck after she fell. However, my action made Rena loosen her grip on my throat. It wasn't loose enough for me to break free from her grip, but it gave me a few moments to use my hands for something other than stopping her from crushing my throat. If I hadn't taken the chance, I would have been done for. That's why I tried to literally seize my chance, and with both my hands on the ground. To seize that chance, I felt a piece of broken glass on my wet hand. That was surely my chance to literally save myself on the brink of death. I cut Rena's wrist deep with a piece of glass. Ooh. Rena tried to endure the pain for a few seconds, but pain that severe for someone so cornered soon broke her will. She let go of my throat, cling to her bloody wrist. I used that moment to roll away from her. She screamed both in pain and also tried and intimidated me again. Didn't work anymore though. Intimidation only works on the opponent when the opponent is hesitant to fight. When you're already in a fight, screaming like that means nothing more than letting the opponent know how badly you're hurt. I no longer had any hesitation. I had word from Rena. She taught me that what I have to do in a situation like this. That's right, this is my secret hideout. I know every single piece of junk in here. Maybe I knew that a day like this was coming. Was it just a coincidence that it was here? I had pulled out a meter-long red pipe, not at all surprised to see it there. I raised it up high and brought it back down. There's no way Rena could block this hard and heavy red pipe with just her arms. She probably tried to block it with the palms of her hands in order to take it from me. But her long nails wouldn't let that happen. Unable to catch it the way she wanted, she broke her fingers and some of her nails came up too. Her scream made me realize I had the advantage. An advantage I would have to keep. If I didn't, she'd turn the tables just like I did, and then she'd choke me to death for sure. Rena shielded her head with her arms, but it didn't help. All that would change is that I break her arms before I broke her face. I'm serious too. Die, die, die! You should die! Yeah, that's right. I should have done this a long time ago. I didn't need proof. I didn't have to talk to anybody. That's stupid. That's nonsense. I should have done this a long time ago. If I had done it a long time ago, my father wouldn't have been deceived. I could have protected him. I could have protected my family. I could have protected my wife. I could have been myself. My mother wouldn't have divorced my father. I could have stayed happy. I wouldn't have to be unhappy. I'm going to recapture my happiness. At this moment, I'm going to win back my happiness. I'm not going to cry for misfortune. I'm not going to give in to a fate of unhappiness. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to seize my happiness right now with my own 2 hands. I'm going to try to run away from me. But as she no longer had the use of her hands, it made it difficult for her to stand up to escape, especially since there were scraps of junk everywhere on the ground. After all, this is my hideout. This is my territory. Nobody can run away from me here. She tried to climb up the slope of garbage, slipped, fell, and rolled all the way back down. She didn't stand up or move. Her eyes were open and her neck was bent at an unnatural angle. I didn't know how to make sure she was dead, so I kept looking at her opened eyes for a while. She could be faking it for all I know. But she didn't close her eyes no matter how long I waited. I scooped up a handful of sand and threw it on her face. She still didn't close her eyes. Thud. The wet pipe slipped out of my hand and hit the ground. When I tried to pick it up, I realized how heavy it was, and I was surprised I was wielding it as though it was a knife. I was sweating all over. Cold wind felt good on my skin. The cries of the Higurashi were calming me down and healing my soul. Lena was just like a broken dummy now. She had become a piece of junk. I am the owner of this land of junk. I have defended it from her intrusion. Now she was a resident of this junkyard. I didn't feel bad about killing her. In fact, I felt rather fulfilled that I defeated the evil woman who had deceived my father. I started breathing slowly and calmly, and I regained enough energy to analyze the situation. I'd have to hide her body. First, I had to get rid of her scooter. I climbed up the slope and kicked her scooter down the hill. It rolled down the slope, making a lot of noise and bedded in with all the junk as it stopped, like it was there from the beginning. I went back down the slope and started dragging her body to my hideout. It should have taken as much effort as dragging a 50-kilogram sandbag, but felt lighter than that. It was just a sandbag, yet it brought disaster to my family. I didn't lure her here in order to kill her. Or did I? Maybe I just didn't notice I had that intention deep down in my heart. But even so, I felt like this was the best and most expedient solution. There's no better solution than killing her. How wasteful to depend on someone to help me to wait for the day to come when they will. I remember the murder of Satoshi-kun's aunt that happened last year. I had no doubt that Satoshi-kun murdered her. But I've never been as convinced as I am right at this moment. How could he have saved Sadako-chan, other than by killing his aunt last year at that time, that circumstance? My situation was much the same as his. How could I have saved my father other than by killing her? If I was planning a murder, I would have been under a lot of pressure and stress. But for better or for worse, the moment came to me out of nowhere. That's why I believe I solved my problem with as little trouble as possible. Now that she's gone, will anyone become suspicious about her disappearance? She was an irresponsible person who skipped work at her own convenience. So I didn't think anybody would get suspicious when she disappeared one day. She was a big mess from the start. People will think she went into hiding because she got into deep trouble with someone. I didn't need to fabricate an alibi. All I needed to do was to get rid of her body. It took me a while to figure out how to do that last part. Hiding her body would be very risky, but my brain had become so calm that it did some calculations and came up with an answer right away. Yes, this place is still the safest. This is a place forgotten. Nobody comes here. Nobody knows this place is here. I knew that because I'd been spending a lot of time here. Compared to taking the risk of carrying her body to some other place, it was a lot safer to just hide it here. But I wasn't perfect yet. This place wouldn't remain a secret forever. I could hide it here from now, but I have come up with the perfect way to make it completely disappear. It's a lot easier to think about that than thinking about how to make Runa break up with my father. I stuffed her corpse into a broken refrigerator in a trash pile. I wanted to cover the refrigerator with dirt and bury it, but that was too easy. I had to chop the corpse into pieces and make them completely disappear. I felt like it got dark all of a sudden. No, it didn't get dark all of a sudden. I just didn't realize it was getting dark until just then. I could hear thunder from a distance. It might rain soon. Could use some rain. I'd wash Rena's dead blood into the ground. I should go home. I should think about what I'd do tomorrow. I was going to stay right beside my father until he forgets about her. He might be hurt at first, but we're going to recapture our happiness for sure. Our happy, peaceful life. My body was heavy with exhaustion, but I also felt fulfilled because I took a very important first step today. I'll keep taking one step after another. I'm not going to cry anymore. I'm not going to cry until I win back my happiness. I'm not going to cry again. Wow. Wow, indeed. Holy shit.
再婚なんかする必要ないよ。
That was the first thing I said after I got home. My father looked stunned. You noticed that sad tone in my voice, and realizing that I didn't agree with the idea of his remarriage, he looked down.
無理もないよな。 レイナの気持ちもわかるよ。事前にレイナにもよく相談。
プロポーズなんて取り消せばいい。あんな女。
あんな女なんて言い方しちゃダメだ。リナさんは
本当のことを話す。あの女と鉄という男は二人組の悪人。我が家の財産を狙ってお父さんに近づいてきただけ。
My father didn't get it right away, of course. He looked upset instead because I called her that woman. Should have chosen my words a little more carefully, but I think I told him the truth clearly enough. I told him everything I heard and saw at the coffee house. As I expected, he defended Rina anyway. I was upset, but at the same time it made me certain that there was no other way than to kill her. I felt the pressure on my shoulders lessen for some reason. My father thought he needed my approval for his remarriage, so he held back his anger and put a fake smile on his face instead.
なあレイナ、もう一度ゆっくりとお父さんたちと話し合おう。そうすればきっと分かってくれるから。
The tamed animal is still tamed, even after the owner's dead. That's okay. I'll open the gate anyway. Even a tamed animal will notice one day that he's no longer in captivity. That's not something that I could teach him. He had to realize it on his own. I couldn't stand his fake smile anymore, so I left the living room. Time healed the pain from the divorce. Time heals any kind of pain, just like how dripping water will eventually bore a hole through solid rock. I did what I could do. Now I have to wait. But the day I was going to wait for came earlier than I expected. At midnight of the following day, we had a visitor. It was that Tek-chan man, Teppei Hojo. Teppei didn't even knock on the door to get in. He broke into the house by smashing the window. At first I thought he came here to ask us about Rena's whereabouts, but I was wrong. The real reason why Teppei came here was because it was their plan. It was the last stage of their badger game. Rena was probably supposed to be in bed with my father at that time tonight. Teppei must have wanted to show up and catch them sleeping together. Teppei looked around the house, but he couldn't find Rena. He didn't change the plan, though. He grabbed my father by his collar and started yelling threats. He showed my father a certificate of marriage to Rena and shouted at him saying, "You got my wife pregnant. How are you going to take responsibility?" My father had no idea she was married. He looked shocked. My father is a short guy who is faint of heart. He just let Teppei do and say whatever he wanted from beginning to end. I looked at them from a distance, coldly. The more Teppei yelled in front of my father, the faster he'd wake up from his bad dream. This was medicine for him. Teppei was cutting out the cancer that was going to depend on time to do. He was doing a great job of it. I waited to help my father until I was sure that he had finally awakened from his bad dream. I told Teppei that I had something very important to tell him and took him outside.
で、なんじゃい？重要な話っちゅんは。
リナさんって昨日以来沖宮に帰ってますか？
ん？
実はリナさん、事情があって隠れてるんです。
あ？どういうこっちゃん？
リナさんから哲平さんが来たら連れてきてほしいと言われてるんです。
あ？リツコのやつどうしたんね？
Teppei followed me without hesitation. Oh boy. Not one murder, guys. We're going for two. We walked in the dark with a flashlight to the place where nobody comes and nobody can hear us. The place forgotten. He asked me many things on the way, but I couldn't answer any of them. I just told him to ask Rena. The way I said it seemed to make him think that Rena was going to betray him and get married to my father for real. Even though he was breathing heavily in a rage, he walked right behind me without any suspicions. I knew this day was going to come very soon, so I was well prepared for it. We reached a place where I originally planned to bring him, and I turned off the flashlight all of a sudden.
どうしたんね？
Everyone gets nervous when the only light in the dark goes off. But this is my territory. I didn't need any light. I could feel my surroundings even better with my eyes closed. I grabbed the big hatchet I hid in a bush and lifted it up high.
ごめんなさい。電池の接触不良かな。ちょっと待ってくださいね。
ああ、はよせんとね。
It purposely sounded weak and helpless while I raised the hatchet into the air.
ああ、ライターあるわ。出すんね。
Teppei found a lighter in his pocket and lit it up. He probably couldn't understand the slight illuminated by that small light. He saw a girl lifting up a big hatchet right in front of him.
Huh?
Teppei's eyes went wide. He didn't understand what was going on, but he understood that his wife was in danger. And yet, he must not have been able to think fast enough to deal with it, even though he understood what he should do. Even if he could think fast enough and blocked his head with his arms, it wouldn't have meant anything. I knew Teppei would come to my house eventually. That's why I prepared for that day. I just didn't think that preparation was going to bear fruit tonight. I chose my weapon very carefully. I planned when, where, and how I was going to attack him. So there can be only one result. The hatchet cut deeply into his forehead. I felt an indescribable vibration through the hatchet when it hit him, and this told me that I broke his skull. He bragged about how good he was at fighting at the coffee house, but he was sure went down quickly when faced with a murderous weapon. He was done in by a single blow. Teppei slowly fell to his side with the hatchet on his forehead. He looked like a victim in a B-movie. I killed this big guy with just one hatchet. He was probably quite experienced in the world of violence. And I was better than him when it came to killing. Why? Because I've killed someone before. It's all done now. The bad people who deceived my father and tried to rob him blind are all gone. I did what I had to do in order to protect my wife. If I had this much courage and determination when my mom told me about the divorce, I might have killed Akihito. If I did, I would have taken the life of only one. Because I couldn't do it back then. I've had to kill 2 people in the last 2 days. Rena, let's finish it up. There's already a place to hide this body. I took care of everything. My hands were wet, so I shone the flashlight at them. I thought it was blood, but it was just sweat. Even so, I still felt uncomfortable and shone the flashlight on my hands several times. I did all of this in order to be happy. I did all of this, so I should be happy now. I tried so hard that I got blood on my hands. I wanted to get credit for that for him. Oshiwa-sama, let me ask you a question. I can finally rewind the time back to the day everything started to go wrong, can't I? I'm going to stay in Himizawa. I'm going to live happily with my father forever. It's rare to see Rena sweep in class. She isn't the kind of girl who sweeps in class because of staying up so late. She had to be tired from doing housework or something. Everybody seemed to be thinking the same thing. Nobody tried to wake her up, not even Chi-sensei. She got up for a few seconds and went back to sleep. She swayed back and forth like she was rowing a boat. But she's in class, so I should wake her up, right? I was about to wake her up, but before my hand touched her, Mion gave me a sign not to.
寝かせてあげなよ。たまにはそういう日もあるよ。
うん。それもそうだな。
I heard a few days ago that Rena lives with her father. She studies during the day, plays a lot after school, and does things around the house like that after that. I didn't know that. I also didn't know her mother had divorced her father. Mia told me that, and she also told me not to talk about it because Rena is still hurt by the divorce.
そんな苦労をしてるなんて全然気づきもしなかったぜ。
レナはそういうのを表に出さないタイプだよね。ひょっとすると普段陽気に振る舞っているのもそういう風に意識して振る舞っているからかもね。
Rena told me that happy days will one day come to an end. She told me that she knew that firsthand. What could she have been through? I had no idea. That's probably why she tried to spend as much time as peaceful and cheerful as she could. I must have hurt her feelings when I said I was bored of having happy days. When I thought about it, I felt bad for living off my parents who are both healthy and happy. For that matter, Sadako and Rika-chan lost their parents too. Mian lives with her grandmother, away from her parents because she needs to learn to be the head of the Sonozaki family in the future. When I realized all that, I felt bad about my situation.
別にケイちゃんが両親と生活してることを申し訳なく思うことはないよ。
Mian seemed to have read my mind. She said it with a cool expression on her face.
確かに家族ってのは生まれてきた子供である私たちにとって一番最初のコミュニティなんだと思う。でもね、コミュニティは家族だけじゃないんだよ。
仲間か？
分かってるじゃん。
俺たちはレナにとって家族に負けないくらいの存在なんだろうか。
掃除洗濯、炊事に買い物。それに疲れて昼寝だけして過ごすことだってレナにはできるんだよ。でもレナはそれをしない。放課後の時間いっぱいを私たちと部活をして過ごす。それはつまりなんて言えばいいのかな。そう、仲間ってことなんだよ。
レナにとっては家族と同じくらいの意味のある仲間ってことなのか？
Mian looks stunned, as if she didn't understand what I was talking about.
ああ、ケイちゃんが今日まで仲間って言葉をどういう意味で使ってきたか知らないけどさ、仲間ってのは家族と全く同格じゃないのかな。
難しく考えることではないのですよ。
Rika-chan joined our conversation.
居場所があればいいのです。それがある場所を家族と言ったり仲間と言ったり呼び方が少し変わるだけのことなのですよ。
リカちゃんにとって家族と仲間は同じものか？
僕はそうだと思っていますです。サトコもミーもそしてレナもそうだと思いますですよ。
だから私たちはいつも一緒にいようとするんじゃないかな。
リカちゃんはみんなといると寂しくないか？
みんなは家族なのです。寂しくなんかないのですよ。
Mian nodded in agreement. Sadako was talking with her other classmates, but I'm sure she would nod as well. Rena would too.
俺ちょっと恥ずかしいよ。今日まで俺仲間って言葉を使ってきたけどさ、本当の意味で理解してなかったと思う。仲間ってのはもっともっと大切でかけがえのないすげえもんなんだよな。
それすっごく当たり前のことだからさ。もし今日まで分かってなかったならよく胸に刻んだ方がいいよ。
Yeah.
そうだな。そうするぜ。
あとそれを二度と口にしない方がいいかもだね。今ケイちゃんかなり恥ずかしいこと言ってたと思うよ。
After all that, Mian still made fun of me. I think I understand a little better why Rena was always so serious about having fun. I want to be her best friend, and I want to do my best to be deserving of her effort. Luna snored. Sounded cute. G-sensei let her sweep in class, but she couldn't let her get away with snoring.
委員長、竜宮さんを起こしてください。レーナ、ほらほら。
Luna was still half asleep and made a strange noise. Everybody in class laughed. Luna noticed they were laughing at her, woke up right away and acted like she wasn't sleeping at all. It looked really funny, and I burst into a fit of laughter. Outside the window, the sky was blue, and clouds were pure white. It was still June, but it looked like the middle of summer. This perfect weather wouldn't last forever. It could get cloudy and rain all of a sudden. That's why we had to play in ways of ruckus while we still had this perfect weather. The cries of the cicadas sound as if they're laughing at us because we still have some classes left. Ah, damn it. I can't wait for school to finish.
どうしたんだろう。ケイチ君すっごく嬉しそうだね。今日は何かあるの？
別に今日何かあるわけじゃないぜ。今日は今日だし、明日は明日だろ。今日が晴れてるならそれで十分。明日の天気なんか知ったこっちゃないってことさ。だから今日という日を俺は精一杯遊び倒したい。いつ天気が崩れたって後悔しないくらいに徹底的にな。
I learned that from Luna. I learned that peaceful days are the happiest days you can have, and that they're irreplaceable.
ミオ、今日の部活はなんだ？それに最近罰ゲームがちょいと刺激不足だぜ。
言うね、ケイちゃん。そこまで言うなら今日の放課後には生き地獄ってやつを拝ましてあげるよ。
ケイチ君、あんまりみーちゃんを挑発しちゃダメだよ。
おいおい、臆すのかよレナ。上等じゃないかよ。また俺たちの実力で大暴れしてやろうぜ。俺とレナの決着だってまだまだついちゃいないんだからな。
I grinned at her and she went back.
それもそうだね。よーし、レナも思いっきり頑張るぞ。レナさんには先日の借りがございますものね。きっちり倍返しさせていただきましてですわよ。
いいねいいね。盛り上がってきたよ。
早く放課後になるといいのです。
I couldn't wait either, but the time we spend just talking together is also very precious.
そうだな。早く放課後になるといいな。
What a chapter. Oh boy, what a chapter. My favorite wine. Gee, it almost makes you forget that two people were fucking murdered. Incredible. So interesting. It's so interesting the take on this chapter so far of like shit's still happening, but the happy days for the club haven't ended. It's very interesting. It's God. It's I don't know how to describe it. I don't know. I don't know. Should it said about like Ryuko 07 that he's able to write very like deep thoughts of like a murderer? But yeah, wow, that was what chapter? I feel like we're only in like chapter 3 or chapter 4. I think. Pretty sure chapter 4, right? We're only on chapter 4, and this chapter's got me in the hooks. Like really entangled me so far. Even though every other fucking chapter has done that, Void. All these are great. But yeah, I think this is a perfect stopping point. If you guys enjoyed this type of content, hit that subscribe button. If you liked it, hit the like button. Want to tell me something? Put it down in the comments below. Want to check out the Discord server I hang out in, or my Twitter? Check the description below. And yeah, this has been Voidlego. I'll see you guys next time. See ya!